many cultures and beliefs around the world, it is believed that it was the gods that created the humans. But no matter how many gods there are, they all have one thing in common, and that is the gods used dirt, mud, or clay to create humans. And it turns out it might not be as unbelievable as you think it is. In Chinese legends, after the creation of the universe, a goddess descended down onto the earth. Her name was Nuwa. According to China's earliest dictionary called Shuowen, it describes Nuwa as the holy maiden of the gods, the creator of all life. It is said that Nuwa took mud from the banks of a river and kneaded it to the likeness of herself. She then found that although these mud figurines could move, they didn't have any life to them. And so, with a single breath, she breathed life into these figurines. And those were the first humans. She later found that kneading every single human by hand was too time-consuming. And so, she took a branch from a nearby tree and dipped it into the river. Then, she took the branch out of the river and splashed the mud all over the ground. The mud droplets then turned into humans. Some people say that the people that were kneaded by Nuwa's hand were nobility, and those that came from mud droplets were commoners. After the humans were created, she found that they were easily injured and died too easily. So she created the rites of marriage so that humans can reproduce and create the next generation of humans. That way, Nuwa no longer has to create any more humans. It was said that Nuwa also created the first instrument called shenghuang. Now that humans had music, following music was dance and singing. So now the humans have a healthy way of expressing themselves emotionally. And so Nuwa was known as the Shizu Nushen, or the first goddess. In other legends and beliefs, humans were created in a similar fashion. Just to name a few, in the Bible, it is said that the Lord created humans from the dust of the ground. And in Greek mythology, it was Prometheus who created humans from mud, and Athena who breathed life into them. This goes for many other myths and legend around the world. So why would gods use dirt or mud or even clay to create humans? Are we really made out of clay? Let us think for a moment. To us, dirt is something we think of as very low or a very coarse type of matter. So what would be considered dirt in the eyes of the gods? If divine beings existed, they would reside in a higher plane of existence than ours. So naturally, our physical world would be considered a world that is lower than that of the gods. Like I mentioned in the previous video, tiny particles create the next layer of bigger particles. Perhaps the gods are made out of finer and tinier particles, just like our body is made out of molecules and cells. Except that the particles that make up the god's body is just way too fine for our human eyes to see. And so in the eyes of the gods, our body would be made of a much coarser matter than the ones that make up the body of the gods. Dirt, in the eyes of the gods, is basically material from our physical world. After a long period of time, a war raged on the earth. The water god Gong Gong and the fire god Zhurong got into a fight for power. In the end, the water god Gong Gong lost to the fire god Zhurong, and out of humiliation, the water god dove his head straight into Buzhou Shan, or the Buzhou Mountain. And it turns out, this Buzhou Mountain was actually one of the heavenly pillars that supported the heavens. And from the water god's strike, the pillar collapsed, and a huge piece from the skies fell down to the earth. Now, there was a hole in the heavens. Then, disaster came. The broken part of heaven fell onto the earth and started a huge fire. A huge flood also came pouring out from the hole in the heavens. All life on earth faced the problem of extinction. Seeing that her beloved creation faced danger in the world, Nuwa once again descended herself down to the world. Like a mother, she took up the responsibility of protecting her children. According to the book Huainanzi, which is a collection of ancient texts and essays, It says that during the ancient times, the 4 pillars of heavens collapsed. The 9 continents of the earth cracked and shattered. The heavens no longer covered the entirety of the earth, and the earth no longer restored life. Great fires and flood covered the land. Wild beasts came out and attacked humans relentlessly. And so, Nuwa collected 5 colored stones, which is stones that had 5 colors to them, melted them down, and brought them up to the sky to repair the hole. She then cut off the legs of a giant tortoise and used its legs as the new pillars of heaven. She also slayed a black dragon that threatened the lives of the people and used the ashes of burnt reed to stop the flood. Due to the goddess's selfless accomplishments, peace and order was once again restored to the earth. In Chinese, the words for legend or myths is called 神话. Now on the surface, it means legends or myths. But if we dive a bit deeper, 神 means divine or God, while 话 means words that were spoken. So 神话 together really means the words of gods, or even the teachings of God. Perhaps legends of the past were actually events that had happened. But as time passes, history became stories, and stories became legends and myths. That is all for today's video. If you like it, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you like my channel. In the next video, I will be sharing one of the most prosperous times in Chinese history. It was the era of San Huang Wu Di, or the 3 sovereigns and the 5 emperors. It was a time where the gods lived among humans and further prospered the divine culture of the Middle Kingdom. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. 我们下次见。